go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand. You ready? Doesn't matter, it is Christmas in my heart.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 8 Christmas DIYs for you. So let's get started. The first one we have is going to be a Christmas tree. And I'm going to use one of these tinsel Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree for the cage. Then I'm using this awesome sparkle chenille yarn that I got on clearance at Walmart for $3.50. And it's a beautiful color of blue with just a tiny sparkle. And I'm going to use it to recover that cage of the Christmas tree. So I just tied it off. I don't know if that was really necessary, just to start it off. And then I'm just using hot glue to attach that big chunky blue yarn all the way around the frame. Now, once I get all the way around, I can just start wrapping it. The cage worked really well for this yarn because it's so thick that you couldn't see any of the plastic pieces sticking out. And basically all I had to do was just wrap it around and around. And this is like a really long piece of yarn. It's like 31 yards. It is like a great yarn. I can't wait to make some more projects with it. Once I get it all the way wrapped up to the top, I just have to snip it off and hot glue the tip down. And this is a really easy way to make a Christmas tree. And I love the little subtle sparkle way more than the tinsel like it was before. But I wanted to give it a little bit more of a coastal touch. So I got these little teeny tiny starfish on Amazon. I can post a link below and they are going to be perfect for this. I'm just going to attach them with hot glue, kind of like Christmas ornaments. And I'm going to do the front and the sides. I'm not necessarily going to do the back because I don't think you'll be able to see it where I'm going to put it on my shelf. And so I just kind of scatter them kind of in an alternate pattern until I get pretty good coverage. I love these little tiny starfish. At first I was like, oh my goodness, these are so tiny. What in the world am I going to do with these? But I have found all kinds of uses for this size. And just hot gluing those along. I'm not going to add a star or anything to the top of this since I already have all the starfish on there. And I'm not going to add any kind of lights, but you totally could because you have the open cage inside where you could poke out the little lights, like the battery pack lights from the Dollar Tree. And this is how it turned out. Isn't it cute? I love that beachy color of blue, and I love the contrast of the little tiny starfish. Okay, here's our next Christmas DIY. This one's going to be a Driftwood Christmas Tree. I'm going to use a foam cone from the Dollar Tree, and these driftwood that I got, they're vase fillers from Target. Right now they're on sale for $7.50 if you order delivery, I think. But I have also got these on Amazon. I can post a link to those. I haven't figured out which is the better deal, but you get quite a few in this box. And so I am just going to start hot gluing a row of the driftwood, but I'm also overhanging the edge, trying to keep it level. So, because I don't want you to be able to see the foam, I want it to look very rustic and very driftwood. This driftwood is it's not falling apart like real driftwood. It's pretty sturdy. It doesn't look quite as rough, but I really like it for projects. I think it's going to work out really well. I'm going to use it a couple times today. Once I get my first row, I just start simply working on a second row. And it's kind of like a puzzle. You kind of want to pick a piece that's going to be the right length, that's going to kind of fit. And I'm not only hot gluing to the foam cone, I'm also hot gluing to the top of the piece below it. And the only problem I had with this is that, the foam doesn't like to be hot glued. And so it does melt, but you're not going to be able to see it. And as long as you work fairly fast, it shouldn't cause you any issues. And so this is my third row. And again, it doesn't have to look perfect. Some can be wide, some can be skinny, because you're going to want it to look really rustic. This row, I'm going all the way to the top of that cone and just filling in any white space. And then I wasn't sure what to do at the top, so I went ahead and started doing like another row just to try to bring the pieces closer together so I could get like a pointy tip for the top of my Christmas tree. And you could also do this with the little plastic traffic cones that they have in the toy department at Dollar Tree. And I actually just got some of those today, and I think that might be better for like gluing like shells and such too. And there is my Christmas tree. I just put a tiny one on top. And then to finish it off, I'm going to put a starfish on the top of the tree. So I'm just going to attach that with hot glue. And I get these starfish on Amazon as well. And I'll post a link. And you get like 20 in a package. I just reordered them because I love them. And this is how our Driftwood Christmas tree turned out. I love it. I think it's so pretty. And it looks like something that you would have spent a lot more money on. Okay, our third Christmas tree, I'm going to use another one of these tinsel Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree. They're a great size, but I don't want all of my Christmas trees to be the same size. So what I'm going to do on this one is just cut the cage shorter and do a smaller tree, just so I have a little bit of variety. Then I'm going to use this rope from the Dollar Tree to wrap it. Now this is the brown rope. It's not the really wide one. It's kind of the thinner one. And I'm just going to start by using hot glue to attach it around the base of our plastic cage. And I love buying things like this from the Dollar Tree, like the cage. It just makes the project so much easier, and it's totally worth it for $1, even though you're like taking it apart and reusing it for something else. Now, I noticed on this one, I was a little bit more worried about like the little plastic pieces sticking out or having gaps between the rope. And so unlike the one way I use the giant yarn, this one I kind of have to hot glue them to each other. So what I'm just doing is putting like a layer of hot glue on top of the rope underneath, and then putting the new rope on and just working my way like section at a time and just keep wrapping around and around. It took 2 packages of this rope from the Dollar Tree to cover this smaller size tree. But I love this. It gives me a total coastal decor. And I just kind of cut the rope at an angle there to kind of hide the end of one and the beginning of the next. And just wrapping around till I get full coverage of my plastic cage. And we're going to have another little Christmas tree. I'm not going to decorate this one at all with any kind of a topper or ornaments or anything. I just like the simplicity of the rope, and I think it'll be a nice contrast against the other 2 Christmas trees that we just made. And my last step is I just go through and burn off any of the excess fibers and give it a clean look. And this was so easy to put together. And here's our rope Christmas tree. This is how it looks with the other 2. I think they look really pretty together, and they give me that nice coastal vibe. Okay, our next DIY is going to be a nativity, like Oh Holy Night sign. And I'm going to thrift flip this great sign that I got at the thrift store for $2. And I have a little 3D nativity set there that I also got at the Dollar Tree. The first thing I'm going to do is make some chalk paint. 2.5 teaspoons of calcium carbonate, 1 tablespoon of water, and a 2-ounce bottle of acrylic paint. And I'm just doing ivory. I'm going to be using this color today. And I thought this would be great to cover the writing on that wood sign, because that white writing against like the navy is going to be a little bit challenging to cover. And I don't want a white sign, but I want to use the white to basically give me like a primer. And I just start covering it all. It had like a natural wood frame, and I was kind of getting a little bit of paint on it. So I do go back here and use some painter's tape and do it the right way and tape off my edges. And I just keep doing coats of that ivory chalk paint until I can't see the letters anymore. Then I'm going to use a makeup sponge. Thanks for this tip, Kristen. And I'm using that to paint the little nativity set. It was a 3D nativity set, but I'm going to try to make it 2-dimensional to put on my sign. I think I can make it work. It has the 3 wise men, Joseph and Mary, baby Jesus, and the manger. So I was thinking like an Oh Holy Night theme for this sign. So once I finally get it covered, I'm using just some acrylic paint that I got at Target. I think this is called Ocean Mist. I'll check and I'll post it below. And I go over that to give me a nice, pretty blue coverage. And I was okay with not perfect coverage because I want it to look rustic and beachy. Now, I kind of wish I would have made that into a chalk paint, though, because I do have issues because I am going to hand paint this with a stencil. I used a design that was pre-made on Cricut Design Space, and then I used my favorite stencil vinyl I get on Amazon, and I cut out Oh Holy Night. And then I also cut out like a Christmas star. And I thought that would fill out the rest of my sign nicely. I could do a hand-painted sign. So once I get those weeded, I am going to go ahead and do the hand painting part first. So I'm going to use some of this paper, transfer paper that I love, and I'm going to apply my stencil to my sign. And I kind of put the manger on there first so that I could kind of line up where it needed to be. I kind of wish I'd made Oh Holy Night a little bit bigger, but that's okay, it works. And I'm just going to use painter's tape to tape around so I don't get any white paint where it shouldn't be. And I'm going to use that ivory chalk paint that we made and a makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree to just lightly dab that on there. I'm going to dry my first coat, and then I'll go back in there and do another coat of the ivory on there as well. I did have some bleeding. I probably should have used a little bit of Mod Podge first. And I definitely should have used chalk paint under this, because when I pull the stencil off, I do take some paint with it, which I really wasn't intending. But I kind of just go with it and say, hey, this is rustic. This is a coastal farmhouse, so the paint's supposed to be messed up, right? So I take off my stencil, and I'm just weeding out the little stencil pieces that are still left on the sign. And you can see the paint that came off of it that wasn't supposed to. So I do have to touch it up just a little bit. And I kind of go with it, and I use like a sanding block and try to rough it up even more on the part that doesn't have paint damage to kind of make it look really rustic. And here I am just touching up some of the paint that was taken off that was a little excessive, because I still want you to be able to read it. I don't want it so rustic that you can't see what it says. So, Oh Holy Night, and we have our Christmas star. And then I want to attach the little wood pieces from that 3D nativity set from the Dollar Tree. And you kind of have to stack them to get it to all fit, but I think it works out perfectly. So I'm going to just attach those to our Oh Holy Night sign with some hot glue. Here's our 3 wise men. I'm going to glue down the little manger. And you can fit baby Jesus in there, and then kind of do Joseph and Mary on each side, gluing those to the actual frame of the manger. And I think it turned out really cute. It's got a nice beachy vibe with this bright blue, but it's also beautiful. And I think this will look really good next to the Christmas trees. I'm going to go in with that original blue paint and just a chunky brush. And I'm just going to go in and lightly distress all of the ivory just to give it a little bit more of a coastal feel. And I'm also going over the paint that I painted to kind of tie them all in together. And then just cleaning up some of the paint because the frame was kind of offset a little bit from it. And I'm just using one of those little Cricut weeders to clean that up. And we have our Oh Holy Night sign. I think this is really pretty. It's kind of hard to see here with my light. If I turn it a little bit here at an angle, you can kind of see it a little bit better. There we go. And I love this color of blue. Okay, our next project. I got this hurricane candle holder at the Target dollar spot for $5. It's really big, and I'm going to try glass etching. I've never done this before, but I found a glass etching cream at Dollar Tree, and I had to give it a try. Now, I love this candle holder, but man, these stickers were so hard. I had to use heat. I had to use glue gun. I finally got all the stickers off of there, and I have a stencil that I've cut there. I used Cricut Design Space, and I picked out a design that said joy. And then I also picked out a sand dollar, and then I replaced the snowflake and joy with the sand dollar to give me a coastal vibe to my joy sign. And that's what it looks like when I weed that out. Now I'm just going to use some paper transfer paper to put my stencil vinyl onto my vase. Now I was kind of nervous about this because I really didn't know if it was going to work out, but I kind of like how it turned out. I don't know if I would have used a better glass etching cream if it would have been even more obvious, but it did turn out pretty cool. I was having a little trouble getting it on there straight, but once I get it on there, I'm trying to make sure that it is like really sealed down tightly. And I'm also going to use some painter's tape to make sure the glass etching cream does not get anywhere else it shouldn't be. To prevent it from rolling around, I'm just using a couple of wood blocks there from the Dollar Tree. And we are ready to do some glass etching. So this is a little tiny bottle. It says to use an applicator, but it doesn't really come with anything. And so I am just going to use a foam paintbrush. I'm just stirring it with a skewer. I was really trying to protect myself. I found one glove, but I probably needed 2 gloves because it was pretty caustic. And I am just going over and kind of patting the glass etching cream on. It was a little clumpy, so I wasn't sure if I was really getting good coverage or not. I kind of expected it to be a little bit thicker. It was very watery, but I'm trying to get as much on there as I can. And it says to leave it for 15 to 30 minutes. And I want maximum etching, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it on for 30 minutes. And I just did that, and then I ran it underneath the sink to wash off the glass etching cream. Once I dry it off there, then I take off my transfer or my stencil vinyl, and I go ahead and weed it, and you can kind of see the etching already coming through. The sand dollar had a little bit of bleeding on the top, but it's not too bad for my first attempt at glass edging. I was happy with it. You can see the sand dollar a lot better on film than you can see the joy because the design is a little bit large. And then I'm just drying it with my dryer to see how much of that's going to pop once it dries, because when it's wet, it looks like you haven't done anything to it. Then I just want to fill this with beautiful things. So this is how it looks. The J and the Y are a little speckled, and I don't know if that was because it was a little bit clumpy. But I thought it was really fun, and I'm glad that I tried something new. So to the bottom of it, I'm just going to put some of that white sand from the Dollar Tree, 1 package. Then I thought I would do some Christmas trees. I got these little white bottle brush Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree. And I tried it with a candle, but I didn't really like that, so I decided just to go with Christmas trees. I'm going to do 2 of the bigger white ones and 1 of the small white ones, and that seems like a pretty good fit. And I was just kind of playing around seeing what I have, but it looks all too white for me, so I'm going to use that same Ocean Mist acrylic paint and a brush, and I am just going to lightly paint these. They take color really well, and it's okay if some of the white shows through. I'm going to do a small one and a large one, and this beautiful like minty green Ocean Mist. And then I'm going to do the other one, and I think this is Caribbean blue, just to mix up the shades of blue a little bit. And it's going to go with my coastal feel, but it's also going to go with this blue theme that I'm doing with the Christmas on these shelves. So once I get those painted, I'm just going to go ahead and put those in there and just kind of bury the base a little bit down in the sand. I'm going to use some of these seashells that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to kind of scatter those around in the sand. I'm going to throw in one of those starfish from Amazon there on the front because I think that would be pretty. And I'm just kind of filling it up until I'm happy with it with just some seashells I have from my stash. And then I always need like maybe just one more seashell. And I really like how it turned out. I kind of wanted to do a candle in it, but I kind of like it without. I think it looks really pretty, and this is what it looks like on my shelf. And it says joy. It has a little sand dollar. It has seashells, a starfish, blue Christmas trees, and it's a really nice size piece. I really like it. Okay, our next project is going to be a nativity scene thrift flip. Now, I got this great nativity scene for $2.99 at the thrift store. They seem to be really readily available. I wanted to take it apart and paint it, but they must have used super glue. There was no getting those things off. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the fabric from the back. It's got a great wood frame. It's very sturdy. It's very old. And I'm trying to decide how I'm going to paint those little figurines since I can't take them off. So I'm also going to take the wood back off of the manger and just leave it like an open backed manger since it kind of breaks in half when I tried to take it off. And this thing was put together well. So I got that off. And I'm just going to have to go ahead and paint the figures while they're still attached to the manger. I really want to do that beautiful blue color that we've been working with today and make that into a chalk paint. But I don't want to get any on the sides of the manger, so I'm just going to use some painter's tape just to paint off the sides. I'm not going to worry about the bottom because it would be too hard to tape off, and I plan to cover that with sand as well. So it doesn't really matter if I get paint on them. The figures were in pretty good shape. They were slightly chipped, but I'm just going to make a chalk paint with that Ocean Mist acrylic paint and the calcium carbonate. And I will post a recipe below for this recipe. I got it on a blog for the chalk paint, and it's so inexpensive. And then I'm just going to go in and start painting all the little characters here in our nativity scene. We've got the animals. I had to, baby Jesus was zip tied on there, and so I kind of took that off, and I'm going to have to kind of paint that one separately. And I don't have a lot of room, but with a brush, I can kind of get in there and get all the details. And since now I have an open back, I can go in there and paint them from behind as well. So I just really want them to be blue and monochromatic. I think it's going to look really modern and really take this old nativity set and make it really stylish and make it look coastal farmhouse, which is my vibe for sure. Once I get one coat of the chalk paint on there, it was still a little streaky from the dark pieces, so I do have to go in there and give a second coat to all of them to get an even coverage of that pretty color of blue. And I'm just going around and giving all of it a second coat. Now I'm just taking off my painter's tape, and we can continue working on this project. I like the wood on this. I do want it to be a little bit beachier though, so I thought maybe I could try to make it look like driftwood. So I'm going to use a couple different chalk paints. This one is hazelnut and this one is cashew, I think. And using a chunky brush, I'm kind of mixing those together. And it really did give me like more of a driftwood color and vibe. And I didn't really have to add driftwood to it at all. I can just use that existing wood and just kind of disguise it a little bit. And I really love how the wood turned out. I think it turned out really good. So I got the roof done, and then I'm just going to go in and kind of do the side posts. Again, I'm not really worried about the wood on the bottom because I want to cover that with sand. I probably would have added some palm trees to this if I would have had any, because that would have been even more fitting. And I'm really kind of happy how that turned out. I'm just going to glue baby Jesus back in there just because I don't want to lose it. I don't really want it to be a removable one. And then I'm just using school glue and a small paintbrush. And I'm going in and covering the entire floor of the manger with the chalk paint so that we can attach sand. There's all kinds of little openings, and so the small brush worked really well to get around all of the little characters that were glued down. And I'm going to use this brown sand from the Dollar Tree. It's a little bit like chunkier and kind of matches the driftwood a little bit better. And once I get a good coat on there, I'm going to go back with spray adhesive glue from the Dollar Tree as well and glue that down. It kind of looks like mush at first, but it dries nicely. And then I'm just going to touch up the front part of the wood there that you could see a little bit with those colors that I use to make it look a little bit like driftwood. And I really love how this thrift flip turned out. It's such a beautiful nativity scene, and I'm so glad that I was able to use this older one. I've brought it back to life, but I wanted to have a little Christmas star at the top, so let's add a little starfish from Amazon with some hot glue, and this project is complete. Isn't it cute? I just love it, and this is how it looks on my shelf. It looks very driftwood. It's got all of the little blue characters of our nativity set. We've got our wise men, Mary, Joseph, baby Jesus. We've even got the animals. Okay, here's our next Christmas DIY. I want to make a peace on earth sign. And I'm using a piece on earth from the Dollar Tree and then one of these Target dollar spot signs. They've had these on clearance. They were from Halloween at my Target dollar spot. I think they're normally $3 and I get it for $1.50. Now I wanted to do like an ombre of the different shades of blue that we're using today. And so I'm using that Caribbean blue acrylic paint and just a makeup brush from the Dollar Tree to do like the upper half of the sign. Then what I'm going to do is go in with that chalk paint that we made and a makeup brush and a different one and do this bottom half of the sign. Then I'm going to use like the makeup brush to blend it together. I got this idea from Kristen and I think it looks so pretty. It's very like beachy ocean. I love like the ombre effect. And then my plan is to attach this to the wood side of that Target dollar spot sign. And that's going to give me that beautiful wood color and then all the different blues that we use today. Whenever I mix up my chalk paint, I just store it in a plastic bag until I'm finished using it and it stays really nice. Now I want to give it like a coastal beachy feel. So I'm just using like a chunky brush and some of that ivory chalk paint that we made and just distressing it very lightly in one direction. Now this sign's perfect, but it has black sides, and I thought you might be able to see that. So I'm just going to go in with a foam brush and some of that cashew chalk paint and just brighten that up a little bit because I don't really want you to be able to see that. I'm going to be making like a shelf sign with this. And so all I have to do is attach our piece on earth to the front of that. It looks so pretty together. I don't think it needs anything else. And then I want to make it stand up. So I'm just going to hot glue one of these Jenga blocks I got from Five Below on the back. But you can use whatever you have to make it stand up. It's not like flush against it. There's a little gap there at the bottom, which makes it kind of lean back slightly. But I love how this turned out. This is how it looks on our shelf. I love how these projects kind of all go together. Okay, this project is going to be a driftwood star. So I'm going to use some more of that driftwood from Target. I used about a half a package on this project, and then just a wood star from the Christmas section at the Dollar Tree. The first step I am doing is just going around the perimeter of the star and kind of putting it together like a puzzle. What will fit where, what sits on where, and just kind of putting it together like that and attaching it with hot glue. Took lots of hot glue for this project. I'm using that Gorilla Glue hot glue, which works really well with wood, and so I don't have to worry about any wood glue. Now, once I get the perimeter of my star done, I need to fill in like the little quadrants, the rays maybe of the star. And so again, just like putting together a puzzle, I'm just trying to fill that in the best that I can without like lots of overlap. And once I get that, I can move on to my next section. And I'm kind of trying to do like just one section at a time. And like the highest point might be in the middle once we fill that all in. And this was actually fun. I think it took me maybe about 20 minutes to glue these on. But it really was kind of like putting together a puzzle. And I love the driftwood. I think it's so pretty. And this looks so high-end. So we're filling in that last section. And then we just kind of have the center section. And I just kind of work around like in a circle and just kind of fill things in, what meshes nicely, if there's like a hole, like what fits in there, until I have complete coverage of our wood star. Isn't that cool? I love how this turned out. Now, I want to make this like a standing sign as well. And so I'm going to cut, this is a plunger handle from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to cut 2 pieces of that with my saw and attach those with hot glue. That way you won't be able to see any wood blocks or any kind of a stand from the front, but it's going to serve a function because it's going to make our driftwood star stand up. I absolutely love this. It looks so good with my driftwood tree as well. So cool. And this is how it looks on my shelf. Okay, are you guys ready for the final reveal? Here we go.
Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand. You ready? Doesn't matter, it is Christmas in my heart. And I can promise Santa's coming to visit. No, he wouldn't miss this in Christmas times. Oh, and the sunset, it is just getting better on a blanket with the skyline painted in blue. Ooh, yeah, that's what we do. We'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand. You ready?
really hope you enjoyed these Christmas DIYs today. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and comment below your favorite Christmas DIY that we did today. Okay, guys, until next time, happy crafting and Merry Christmas.